Everything that you think that you know about your life has been curated for you. Everything that you think you know about yourself is hidden. The curation comes from the 5 levers of conditioning, and the layers of yourself are produced by those 5 layers. And then as a result of these 5 levers in these 3 layers of yourself, you're forced to wear masks. I'm going to break all of this down. So the people that I've worked with the last 11 years of my life, I see the same patterns emerging with each one of them. So let's dive right into it. Let's start with the 5 levers of conditioning. Lever number 1, school. When I was 5 years old, when I would go to school, I would feel very diffident, very separated from the people around me. But when I was at home, I was very raw and authentic. I would be vocal about my feelings and my expression and my ideas and my imaginations. But for some reason, when I went to school, that was completely killed. Like the people around me, I didn't like to talk to people. I was very shy. And the reason why this was is because at home, I felt very comfortable with the people that I was around. And then I was removed from the safety net of my mom and my brothers and my sisters and put into a culture shock where I didn't know anybody. I didn't know the people around me. I didn't know the authority figures. I didn't have a comfort to go to. So I looked for the first thing, the first person that I could who gave me some sort of direction, some sort of comfort and empathy. And that was the teacher. And so the teacher became my authoritative figure where I would listen to what she would say, the suggestions, the recommendations. And then during those young years of my life when I was at school, I would give tests, exams, same as you, for those until I was in high school. And those tests and exams, what they would do was grade me based on the information that I was able to articulate. Not the information as in, was I able to think for myself, but was I able to duplicate that information? Was I able to remember it and put it on the test on a pass-fail system? And so this pass-fail system would teach me one thing: what is right and what is wrong, black and white. If I failed a test, then, or if I failed a grade because I wasn't able to continue to reproduce what was being told to me over and over again, then I would have to stay in that grade. And I didn't want to be left behind because remember, the people who I was with during this time in the school system, the classmates, the teacher, I had to re-socialize and get comfortable with those people. And so I didn't want them to leave and have to know a whole new group of people. And so the one thing that I wanted to do was maintain that group. And how I did that was making sure that I could pass these tests, pass this grade, so I can go. So the fear of these people leaving me again, after I had already been ripped out of my home and put into this culture shock area, was paramount to anything else. My imagination, my creativity, my expression. I had to make sure that I was like everybody else so I wasn't left behind again. That's the school system. That's the first lever of conditioning. And this pass-fail system is brought through all the way through 12th grade. We can express ourselves in different forms through essays during sophomore, junior, senior levels. And then when we graduate, we go to college, but only if you choose it, right? And this is another social lever. This is another lever of conditioning. When we graduate high school, we have options of what we want to do. This is lever number 2. We get to choose what we want to do. And one of the things that has been impressed on me by movies from whenever I was growing up, like I'm 37, so You can imagine the movies, right? White picket fence, going to college, finding a successful career. Like, this was seared into my mind through the third lever, okay? But because it was seared in my mind, I thought that was the way to go. But I didn't necessarily have to, because my family, nobody really went to college. Nobody did go to college. And so I knew that I had other options beside that, but my options were still limited. The second lever is us being able to live in society. Now, when we can live in society, when we can live in it and be productive members of society, then we get to choose what box to go into. But only a certain number of boxes are revealed. So we don't get to choose exactly which one we don't get to choose outside of that box. There's probably so many things, but we need to get money. We have to survive. And so in this way, we have to choose a job or a career path that allows us to live through life comfortably. And so these options are only revealed to us based on what we think that we need. And what we think that we need is impressed on us through movies, the media, people around us, our parents, friends, because our idea of success has been curated for us. So this is lever number 2, the illusion of choice of what we get to do in society. Lever number 3, the media. This is another lever that ushers us in a certain direction, that curates the world that we live in, our view world. Media. And media is any form of impressions that we get based on advertising, or let's say an impression would be if you're driving down the road and you see a sign for McDonald's. That's an impression. And then you go down the highway even more and you see another sign for McDonald's. That's a second impression. So this is a form of media. But also the news. The news is a form of media. And the driving force of media is 2 things: desire and fear. Those are the 2 things that it plays on. The conditioning that we went through in school and this idea of success that we develop through society, the media uses fear to make sure that those continue to stay. Because if we're afraid of being poor, or we're afraid of another country somewhere in the world going through wars, if we're afraid of that, then we'll do everything that we can to make sure that we stay in our lane. We'll make sure it's a pass-fail system like that. Okay, if these countries are going to war because of these reasons, we need to make sure that we don't. That is a pass-fail. If we fail, then we're going to war. Or invaded, whatever else. This is the third lever of conditioning. Media uses fear to keep us in the framework that we developed in the school system. And then the box that we chose to land in society wants to keep us there. The fourth lever is the algorithms. The algorithms are not just the digital algorithms. The algorithms are the social sandbox, the conditioning that has been carefully curated so that we stay in our lane. That is an algorithm. And it is very dynamic. So you can look at the media, the school system, and society as different components of the overarching algorithm. Everything that you see in the media, everything that you see on the TV, everything that you see on movies, Netflix, every impression that you get on billboards, everything that we hear on most of the multi-million-dollar, the legacy news, the huge podcasts that go in front of the president. Like, these are all levers, right, that the algorithm pulls to keep us from continuing to think outside of the box. Let me give you a prime example of this. I made another YouTube video that went live a few days ago, and I was getting comments about some of the stuff, and yeah, it was very polarizing comments. The link is the card is up here. The card is up here. One of the two. It was very polarizing and dynamic conversation, and I go in there and I like to engage with the community, and so I go in there and all the comments are gone, right? And it's because we're discussing something very polarizing and that's not typical for the forward driving forces that the world is going into, right? And so what it was doing was trying to break out of this lane that we were put in. And the algorithm deleted all the comments. I can't find them anywhere. So this is a perfect example. The fourth lever is the algorithms. When we start thinking outside of this framework, this curated world that we live in, then the algorithms try to usher us back in. And this doesn't happen just by deleting comments, right? This happens very subtly. You don't even know that it's happening. In fact, when you think you have an idea about thinking in a certain type of way, most of the time, it's not even your idea. It came from all of these different tools that the algorithm uses. The idea wasn't yours. It came from these different tools. The fifth lever of conditioning is the family. And I will talk about the family and the difference between a family and a community in a later video, because I believe that the community, it should be the smallest unit, not the family. But I'll talk about that in another video. But here, the family, the parents, me, I have two children, me, and their mothers, we all went through these same levers of conditioning, the four that I've already spoke about. And so when my child comes and is being raised, I am teaching them this curated view on reality that I was conditioned to believe, that I didn't even know existed. And so the fifth lever of conditioning is the family, and it starts at birth. It starts from a very young age, where all of these beliefs that was carefully curated from the generation prior is passed down to the new generation. And then the other four layers go to work to herd that the younger generation in to further the direction that we need to go in. Just review these five levers. The school system, pass or fail, which makes us very rigid and puts us in a lane. Society, which puts us in a box within that lane and gives us the illusion of choice. 3, the media uses fear and desire to usher us or keep us into that box when we're adults. 4, the algorithms. When we start to leave the box that the other 3 levers put us in, then the algorithms slowly bring us back without us even knowing it, making us think it's our idea. This is a spiritual bypass. That's what it is. It's one of the examples. And then 5, the family starts at birth. And the reason why I didn't put that as number 1 is because you had to understand how the parents were affected before the children. So those are the 5 levers of conditioning. What does this produce? What does this produce within you? Why does it matter? We have 3 layers to ourselves. We have our social layer, our private layer, and our raw layer. The raw layer is our genuine, authentic self, where we're imaginative and expressive, and we can think and imagine whatever we want, boundless. And we can express ourselves without filtering it. The social layer is me when I was 6 years old going into the school and very shy and having to find out who the authority figure was. And then finding out a group of people that I need to present myself to. And because of the pass-fail system, I was afraid to be myself. So I had to show up in a social setting in a very specific way that that told me that was socially acceptable. Okay, so that's the social layer and the raw layer. The private layer lives in between them. The private layer is close friends and family, the people you live with in your home. So why isn't the close friends and family the raw layer? Why don't we have that relationship? Because everybody that we are around has been through the same 5 levers. And because they've been through the same 5 levers, there are acceptable things, acceptable ways to think, and acceptable ways to behave. And so even when we're by ourselves with the people that we love, we still try to show up in this certain way. We still filter our raw self. Because if I go around telling people your religious beliefs are not true, or I don't believe those religious, like, let me give you an example. Last night, I was talking to the band because my lady owns a venue. And I was talking to the band, and the mom of one of the band members said, "Oh, how long have you been with your wife?" And I was like, "I'm not married. I don't believe in the institution of marriage." And she was like, I could see that her demeanor changed. And then even, so that's just an example of that. But even like her dad wants marriage, right? They believe in that. They believe in that. I don't particularly believe in the institution of marriage because it's another framework, another box that I didn't choose. That's not what love is, connection is. Like, we don't need papers to say we can be married. I don't. You might. If that's your thing, cool. I don't care. But this is what I'm talking about, right? Is like, even the people closest to me, I can't really be my raw, authentic self. I have to filter it. So these 3 layers is the social layer that we present to everybody, the private layer that we present to our friends and family, and then the raw layer. And the raw layer, just one more thing on that, is most people don't even know that layer. Because remember the 5 levers, and then the social and the private layer, and then the raw layer is hidden beneath all of that. And when I start to come out and start being genuine and authentic, these levers are ushering me back into the social layer. The social layer, not the private layer, the social layer. And what does this do? What do these 5 levers and these 3 layers do to you, to me? Think about it like this. We have so many different types of relationships. We have coworkers, spouses, parents, bosses, in-laws, children, strangers, acquaintances. The list goes on. We have all of these different types of relationships. And every type of relationship has a socially acceptable set of rules of engagement. And these rules of engagement that we have to show up to with each of these different individual relationship types is a form of a mask that we put on. Because we're trying to fit ourselves in this certain dynamic relationship. Because we can't be our raw self. Oh no, God forbid we be our raw self. So we have to engage in that institution. The institution is the relationship. We have to engage in that institution as the institution demands it, or what's socially acceptable. And the only reason why it's socially acceptable is because we've been taught that it is socially acceptable through the 5 levers of conditioning. So do you see how this starts getting very convoluted? Extremely confusing. So if I'm interacting with all of these different people every single day, and then I have to switch between the social layer and the private layer, and then not really get to show my raw layer, it becomes a spider web, a net that we get caught in. And we are all trapped in this. Even when I start to find my way out of this trap, I get ushered back into it. Even when I start thinking that I'm being raw and genuine, I am, but I start drifting. So what is drift? Drift is this subtle, incognito ability, I guess I would call it, for me to slowly bring my behaviors and my thinking back into somebody who I don't want to be. I think that I'm going one direction. And then after a couple months of going in that direction, I'm like back to who I was before. Doom scrolling, eating fast food, drinking a bunch of energy drinks, smoking, whatever it is. And then also, like, I think I'm being genuine, but I put on this mask in public who I'm talking to. Like, this is the drift. I have to actively go through every single day, constantly trying to untangle this spider web. Because if I don't actively untangling the spider web, I'm going to get ushered back into it even deeper. So this is all of these 5 levers, these 3 layers, and then this spider web produce identity fracture or disassociation. I am a different person at all of these different settings and all of these different people. These are the masks that I put on, and I have to keep swapping them out, swap out the mask everywhere I go. And it is so insane. It's maddening almost. No, it is maddening. And the pressure from trying to change who I am depending on where I'm at is so challenging. And if you believe that you don't do this at all, I just want you to take some time to start paying attention where you're at, what you're doing, who you're talking to, and how your words change and how you act differently. Here's a prime example. Work, coworkers, when you're interacting with them, it is 100% different. Maybe not 100% different, but it is very different from how you would deal with your friends. Call it what you will. Call it, well, I don't really know them that well. No, it's because you don't know you that well. It's because I don't know me that well. That's why I change. Because I don't know that my raw, authentic, genuine self is okay to show up in the world wherever I'm at. Wherever I'm at, I can be me. Wherever, with whoever. How I talk to somebody should not change. And this is very evident. Like, I talk to my bosses, I talk to my employees, I talk to my coworkers, my mentees, my mentor. I talk to all of these people the same. I'll let them know. But there are frequent times where I notice myself putting on another mask. And this is a result of these identity fractures, this disassociation that I deal with because of these 5 levers, these 3 layers in the spider web. This is a result. The reason why I revert back and drift to wearing the mask is because it gets overwhelming sometimes, so I look to escape. And the way that I escape now is distraction. Distraction. Not resting, distraction. What is distraction? You can put a label on it, whatever you want. Whatever your thing is that gets you thinking somewhere else and your body is doing without acting. or is doing without thinking. Let me rephrase it. Autopilot. Doing without thinking. And what we need to do is think about what we're doing. But because of this entire framework that I just spelled out for you, we don't want to be there because it's uncomfortable. So we want to leave our body. We want to leave. We want to be thinking about something else, because who the fuck wants to live in a world like this? Who? It's messed up. Like the whole framework, the whole system is broken. But it's okay. It's okay, because you are underneath all of this stuff, all of these things, that this life that's been curated for you. You are there. You have your raw layer, and you don't have to put on masks. You don't have to be trapped in this spider web. It's somewhere. You don't have to change who you are depending on where you're at and who you're talking to. You are there somewhere. You just have to find it. You just have to find you. Who are you really? DDE Framework online helps you do that. And it goes through all of this stuff. And it's very intensive, and it's very elaborate, and it's very meticulously structured so that you can find out who you really are. That's all I'll say about it. It's in the description. But this world is, it's destroying individuals. Not in the sense that like we're dying, which I'm not going to get into all that. But in the way that like we are this pass fail people, and so we are basically copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. Who are you? Are you that different from everybody else? What are your beliefs? Do you want to go to school? What is your belief in success? Do you think that meditating is going to solve your problems? It is only a piece of the solution. Meditating is only a piece of the solution. But the world hijacked the movement for people who were actually finding out who they were through meditation, hijacked it and completely shifted it. That's the algorithm at work. That's the system at work, teaching you, trapping you in another framework, in another box that was hijacked by the system. Now, you can think this is conspiracy theory or whatever. Like, I don't care if you think that or not. This is what the world is right now. This is what the world is right now. I want to help the world out of this. I genuinely have a passion and a love for people. Like I can look at somebody and talk to them for 30 seconds and I can feel who they are. And I can also determine if they hate themselves, love themselves, or find joy, happy, not because they're showing it on their face, but because I am connected to the humans, and you are too. And we just have to find our genuine, authentic self in order to get connected like that. And yeah, I get disconnected, but we have to fix the system from the bottom up. We cannot rely on the politics, the elites in the world. We can't rely on them to fix it. And this whole video, the whole reason why I'm sharing this video is because like I want to one, bring awareness to people about what's going on, but I don't want for people to be stuck just by being aware of it. Like, what do you do with this? What do you do with this information when you know it? And most of you have probably already experienced this. And I'm not really saying anything new that you don't already know. I'm just articulating it in my own way. So how do you do it? Do you go and join a meditation movement? No. Because all that is doing is adding to something that is fundamentally broken. That's all it's doing. We have to take the thing that's broken and we have to deconstruct it, rip it apart piece by piece, meticulously deconstruct it, decondition it, and then we have to rebuild a new framework, a new baseline, and then also at the same time do the meditations, do the other stuff. Like, you can't not just escape and go on autopilot, and you can't just continue to switch on different masks. You're going to be miserable or under the illusion that you're not. And if you have found out a way to be yourself, no matter where you're at or who you're talking to, dude, put that in the comments. Let people know about it. Make a video about it. Share it. Tag me. Post it everywhere. Like, let people know what the solution is. Because that's what I'm doing. And we all need to fucking share the solution. We all need to stop talking about the problem and implement a solution. I love y'all. Peace.